So my name's Joel. Good morning, everybody. I am a retired colonel. I've been out of the Army for about 5 years. I spent 32 years in the Army, married, 4 kids. Yes, we drugged them through 19 PCSs, or moves, if you will. Good times. They're now all out of the house, and yes, they've all moved at least once since they left the house. So it's an honor to be here with all of y'all. I come at this conversation from really 2 worlds. So as I said, I mentioned I spent a career in the United States Army, much of it alongside Special Operations Forces. And I've spent the years since then thinking deeply about how advanced technology, in today's case AI specifically, actually enables people operating at the edge. So I'm going to give you a couple of stories. It'll be fun. Maybe even throw a joke in there. One good analogy about kites. This will be good. So when we talk about AI at conferences, we often talk about what's possible. But operators and commanders don't really care about what's possible so much as they care about what's dependable, timely, and trustworthy. Okay? Technologists make phenomenal products possible, but you have to tailor it to the mission. That's why I want to talk today about maturing AI for mission-critical applications. So I had the opportunity to be involved in 2 efforts at U.S. Special Operations Command. And the first one is the U.S. SOCOM's Hyper-Enabled Operator, or HEO, initiative. And the second one is the ASUM initiative, AI for Small Unit Maneuver. So the HEO initiative was a phenomenal effort where basically what we were trying to do is digitize everything that the operator had to do manually, wind data, sniper, for snipers, TAC data, those sorts of things, bring it all in to the operator in the right context, and in that context, present it to the operator at the time and the place that they needed. For AI for Small Unit Maneuver, basically what we did is we were taking Group 1 drones and we were putting them into a formation as a partner to the operator. Do you know how hard it is to get a Group 1 drone to act as a partner in something that augments the capabilities of an operator instead of something that detracts from the operator's attention, something that he or she has to take care of? That is huge. So if an operator is clearing a building, conducting an ISR patrol, or conducting a joint fire mission, the value of information is entirely dependent on timing, relevance, and confidence. The fastest AI in the world is useless if it delivers the wrong data at the wrong moment, or worse, it delivers uncertain data with absolute confidence, right? Both efforts forced us to confront a question we don't ask often enough. When should we augment humans, and when should we automate in place of humans? In robotics, we learned a long time ago that robots should take on the 3 Ds, tasks that are dirty, dangerous, and dull, right? Humans are not very good at those. For agentic AI and large language models, the framing needs to be just as disciplined. So, in case LLMs don't have enough L's in them, LLMs should take on language-heavy work, loosely defined tasks with low-risk outputs, right? Because that's the state of the industry today for operational uses. Where we get into trouble is when we ask AI to provide certainty without accountability. That's where our work in the defense space is different. To mature AI for defense applications, our approach really needs to be source-grounded. It needs to be secure. It needs to be supervised. So when I say source-grounded, what I mean is grounding responses in verifiable sources and information. We have to be able to trace every word of a model's output back to the original source material. For secure, I mean yes, cybersecurity, super important, but I mean vetting models to ensure that they are robust and resilient to adversary attacks, bringing capability on-prem, relentlessly probing them for vulnerabilities, and leveraging industry-best cybersecurity capabilities. That all helps ensure trust through security. And finally, supervised. We must keep humans in the loop, not as a temporary measure, but as a design principle. These are what make agentic AI ready to be integrated into the mission. After all, the mission doesn't pause for AI that isn't ready, which is why at Seekr we focus on trustworthiness, traceability, and deployability wherever the mission demands. So let's talk about context, but from the operational side of the discussion, right? It's important to understand that just like any human teammate, agentic AI and large language models cannot simply show up on game day. So being a retired Army guy, of course, I've had a number of lieutenants who showed up straight out of college, straight out of officer basic course, and they absolutely were convinced that they knew everything they needed to know. And of course, they quickly found out that they didn't. They didn't know that, grid squares are just a thing on a map. They're not an actual thing you can get from the supply closet, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of context that lieutenants don't know. And it's the same with AI. For mission-critical applications, we have to ground AI. We have to ground AI in the context of the mission. So let me give an example, or maybe an analogy. Kites. The reason why kites can fly so high is because they have a string, they have a tether, right? If you cut the string on a kite that's flying high, it will crash. The tether for AI is that source grounding, that security, that supervision of humans. When we start getting away from that and we cut that string, AI starts to do things that are not effective for the mission. It starts to crash and it starts to burn. So trust is built through consistent performance, not necessarily cleverness. If we want our AIs to soar high and do the great things that they are to do, we must build that tether. There's a human aspect to AI that is key. And keeping that human in the loop, keeping that tether on AI will make AI much more usable going into the future. Thank you very much.